in this lesson we're going to be talking about major chord inversions. So gotten a couple requests for this type of lesson. It's a good one. It's important kind of theory, but it'll really help you expand your chord playing especially. So all an inversion is you take the chord, we're going to use major chords in this lesson. A major chord, if you remember, is made up of 3 specific degrees of the major scale. The first, or the root note, the third, and the fifth, okay? Root, third, fifth, that makes up a major chord. Let's take a G, for example. If you play a major scale, G is our root, B is the third, 1, 2, 3, that's a B, 2, 3, 4, 5, D. So G, B, and D, those 3 notes make up a G major chord. Obviously you don't play them always right there. You can play any combination of G, B, and D anywhere on the neck. Okay, play a full chord like that, like this, a bar chord, play like this. Lots of different choices, okay? All an inversion is when we first learn chords, open chords, our root note is always the bottom note, the bassiest note. So like when we learn our G chord, we play a G chord, the root note G is the lowest note, okay? Even our bar chord here, it's the lowest note. An inversion is when you use the third or the fifth as the bottom note, okay? So we have our G chord. Let's play a G chord here. We're gonna use chord shapes on the D, G, and B string, okay, for this. So this is part of a G major bar chord. So we're just using these 3 notes. G, B, D. 3, 4, 5. B string, G string, D string. Okay, the first inversion is when you put the third on the bottom, okay? So we can play that right here. So there's your third, that's your B. Then we have the fifth right here, D on the G string, and our root note is on the 8th fret of the B string. And I just bar this, but you don't have to. Okay, so 7th fret, 9th fret, 8th fret. I'm sorry, 9th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret. So that's our first inversion. G on the bottom, now it's B on the bottom. And the second inversion is up here. Now our fifth, the D note, is on the bottom of the chord. That's your D right there. Then you have your root note there and your third there. So I'm just borrowing those 3 strings. So those are the 3 inversions, or 2 inversions, the regular one. First inversion, second inversion for a G major chord. Now, just so I can show you how this can be useful, let's do the 2 other major chords in the key of G, which is C and D. So we'll play that same shape on C, that's here. Now we're on a C major chord. So we have C, E, and G. Root, third, fifth of C. So first inversion would be right here. Same chord shape as before. So it's 14, 12, 13. And then you can go up to the 17th fret and play your second inversion. But that might be a little high, so you can always do those inversions here. That'd be your first inversion. So that's 2nd fret, open G, root note. and then your second inversion with the fifth on the bottom is here. These are just an octave higher. So we have okay, then on D, same thing. That's D. And then our first inversion would be here. And then second inversion here. And that's all tabbed out for you there. And you can notice how, even though it's the same chord, it sounds a little bit different each inversion. Okay, so once you get those down, then I just want to do a little chord progression. And the chord progression is going to go G to C to D to C. Okay? We're going to use a regular G with the root on the bottom. But what these inversions allow you to do is kind of play a chord progression in the same position, or roughly the same position. So instead of, if we were playing G, C, D, C, instead of going you could do that, it sounds fine, but you could also do this. And that sounds pretty cool too. And you can mix it up any way you want to. It just gives you a lot more options. And really good rhythm players use these inversions all the time because it makes things sound more interesting than just going, you know, or it sounds kind of more interesting, might fit better with an ensemble if you're playing up higher. So in this specific example, I used the regular G with the root on the bottom. I used the second inversion of C, and I used the first inversion of D with the third on the bottom. So that's just one example of how you can use these inversions. So study up on those three chord shapes and the two inversions. Really get to know them. The way I find this, the second or the first inversion, is I think of where the root note would be. And I know that the G is right there on the 8th fret of the B string. So that's where my second finger is going to go. But you can find kind of any trick you want to use to find it. Or it's, you know, it's 2 whole steps up and then 1.5 steps up from there. So from my third finger, 1, 2 whole steps, and then 1.5 whole steps to there. You know, you could use these inversions too when you're just hanging on the same chord to make it sound different. Say you're just jamming on G. Instead of just doing that the whole time, you could do you know, you can do, it just really opens up the door to some different stuff. So that's major chord inversions.